Merry meet everyone. Welcome back to Midnight Fantasy Creation. Today we are going to be doing a comparison video on some of the resin powders. We are doing, I think there's 4, maybe 5 different ones. We've got Let's Resin's Magic Powder, not a resin powder, a resin plaster or an acrylic plaster, depending on what company you buy it from. So we have Let's Resin's Magic Powder. We are going to use Texpert's Pure Cure only water. And then we have the Unicone Set in Stone. Sorry, I'm going to try and get that in view. This is actually a really big bag. So we got the Unicone Set in Stone. In the back, it actually has, let's see, Unicone art. And I'm doing this Perfect Cast. Now, it says it casts, where does it say? 5 times stronger than plaster. So we are going to put that to the test. And these are supposed to be in comparison to the plaster Paris, I believe. I should have bought some. I did not, and this video is already going to be coming out late, only because I had to wait for the stuff to come in because of the holidays. So, the holidays and New Year's. So some of the stuff came with extras. The Texpert you can get in a kit. And it came with pigments, a scoop, which we're probably going to use, mixing cups, sandpaper it looks like, which might come in handy, stirring sticks, and I think these might be gloves, but they're non-toxic. You don't need to use gloves for it. And I am not going to bother using gloves. And it does sit in about 30 minutes. So I should be able to do this video quite quickly. I did, however, forget to grab my molds, so I'm going to go do that. They're going to be little gnomes. The gnomes, so I already used the Let's Resin's Magic Powder, and I did a lot of different things already. I'm also going to be using this to make candles. We'll do that in another video. But I did a bunch of plaster gnomes. And I will show you what those look like. They are already on my website. I mean, I haven't put these on yet, but seasonal ones are already on there. And these are actually really sturdy. I don't want to hit this too hard on my table. It's glass, but these are actually really sturdy. You can sand them. They're sandable, so all these little sharp edges you can sand down, which I will definitely need to do now that I have sandpaper. And then you paint them. You do have to be careful because you still get air bubbles, but for the most part, they come out fairly nice, and they're wicked smooth. So you can paint these with acrylic paint. I'm pretty sure you can. I think it says you can use any water-based paint, but you do have to wait 24 hours for them to completely dry. And trust me, you definitely want to wait, because I didn't. I got a little impatient, and some of the paint started bubbling and flaking, and I need to find a way to clean them up without ruining them. And repaint them. And I also want to do another video on the sealers, because it says to use any varnish or acrylic sealer. So I want to do another comparison video on what would be the best sealer to use. Now, Set in Stone actually has their own sealer. I definitely want to get that. And then one of these other, I think it was Texpert, has their own sealer, which I thought I bought that kit, and I bought the one without the sealer on it. I could be wrong. There was quite a few different brands, and I might have been one of the other brands that I didn't get. I went for the more common ones. I've seen quite a few people use Texpert. Obviously, Let's Resin, everyone uses Let's Resin. And then Unicone Art is one of my favorites. And then I wanted to do like a no-name brand. This is literally the cheapest one out of all of them. I also want to let you guys know how much these cost and how much they kind of cost per They all have different units, so I'll definitely get a more accurate price to see which one is the cheapest one and which one's the more expensive one. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, I am in the house today. I got some better lighting, too. And because this is very messy stuff, I got a plastic, a really cheap plastic tablecloth to protect my expensive tablecloth. If I was going to be using regular resin, I would have just thrown a silicone mat on it, but this gets very powdery, and it does make a little bit of a mess that's easy to clean up. But if you happen to see my little fur balls pop in, my little kitty cats, I do apologize. And this is non-toxic. Doesn't mean I want them trying to lick it. So if you see me shooing the cats away, because I'm afraid they might do that. I also don't want them to knocking it over because I don't want to waste any. But it is still non-toxic, which is why you don't need gloves. All right, I will be right back with those molds. All right, I am back with the molds. I like putting them in little baggies. I was told they could dry rot. I have some very old ones that look like they are starting to go. So this is supposed to help keep the air out of them so they don't dry rot as quickly. I also like them for writing. So I write what the mold is. Let's see if I can get that in focus. And then how much either resin or plaster it uses. Right now I've only used these for plaster. So I have this one specifically is 3.5 ounces. Not that it really matters because you need to measure it by weight, and it's a lot harder to kind of guess exactly 3.5 because you got to do 3 times water to 10 times powder or something like that. So for every, every 3 ounces of powder is 1 ounce of water, roughly. That's not exact. Some of these say 10 by 3, others say 3 times the water to 3 by 1. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, so I did have another one. This one is Resin-Crete. This is the one that had their own sealant, and I didn't get the kit. I should have, because I think it also came with its own pigment. I also want to test out pigments and see how concentrated they are. So I am definitely going to need to do that because I have pigments for, I think, 2 other ones. You are supposed to use a water-based pigment in it. I am definitely going to at least do that in another video. We will definitely test that out later. But I'm going to grab one of these molds. I'm going to write down what mold it is, what resin I used, so I don't get this mixed up and I know exactly what was what. And we are going to do a comparison on quality, how easy it is to mix, how easy it is to pour, and then how easy is it to demold. All these, for the most part, except for the Perfect Cast, says these cure in roughly about 30 minutes. I do know Let's Resin says if you have those very fine details to wait, I don't remember if it was 2 hours or 24 hours. I do know 2 hours is fine. It does get very hard by then. So let's do let me write these down real quick. I'm just going to speed this up. Alright, so I have my scale. Like I said, you do need to measure this by weight, and as you can see, I've already made a mess out of this bad boy. Now, I cleaned this. There is a little water in it. That is totally fine. I've technically already done the Let's Resin Magic Powder, but I'm going to do that again so you guys can see it on this video. And we are going to start with that one. So, as you can see, I am almost out. And while this is setting, I will do the math on how much this is. So in the Let's Resin pack, you get a scoop right in the baggie. So I already by far love the buckets. They give you a bucket for their packaging. I already love this. So even if I don't buy this brand again, I am definitely going to be using the bucket. But their powder does come in a bag. So you can either dump it out into the bucket, which I didn't bother doing, or you leave it in the baggie like I did. But it does come with a scoop. And you want to measure this by weight. So let me clear this out. Now I want to do, let's see, it says 1 to 3. The Let's Resin says 3 to 1. So I need to do 3 ounces of this to 1 ounce of water. And that is just going to be the easiest way to do this. You don't need to do exact. I have added more water beyond measurement because it just worked a little bit better that way. I'd rather it be too runny than not runny enough. If you add too much water, it's just going to shrink depending on how much water you add. So I wouldn't add too much more than what they recommend, but this does have a lot of forgiveness when it comes to the measurement. Unlike the epoxy resin, you gotta measure that by volume and you can't be off by too much. Or everything's going to be out of whack. And I already have a cup of water set aside. So we already have a little over 3 ounces of powder, and I'm just going to do 1 ounce of water. And I already went over it, which is totally fine. Like I said, I'd rather it be a little over than under because it gets wicked thick. And it will be harder to use and work with if it's too thick. Now, you do have to work with this kind of fast. So you want to mix this all up. So it's basically a nice cream consistency, I guess you can say, or very liquidy. So I like it when it's this liquidy. Maybe a little thicker would be fine, not too thick. And when I make big batches, it gets thick. If it starts to harden on you, add a little water. I've noticed you can do that for a little bit. I don't know about how far beyond that you can go. I wouldn't recommend doing huge batches. Like the most I've done, I think, was I doubled this. So I did 6 ounces of powder to 2 ounces of water. And that seems to work fairly fine. I wouldn't go any bigger than that, because it's going to start hardening and it's not going to cure right. I also want to mention I've been a little under the weather, so if you hear me sniffle, cough, sneeze, whatever, I do apologize. It's another reason why I took some time off from the videos, and I do thank you guys so much for that understanding and whatnot. But yeah, so we are going to pour this in nice and slow. No different from the epoxy resin or any of the other resins we use, whether it's deep pour or, well, I wouldn't use the fast cure in here, but. And of course, we're just doing this with color, plain, with no color or pigment. I want to see how well these look without any interference from anything. Now, you do want to not pour this up all the way like I did, because you want to get some of the air pockets out. I don't know if I'm going to make a mess pouring this back in there. This particular mold likes to lean, so I'm going to rest this up against the wall to let it cure. You want to flick gingerly, tap, squeeze, any areas you know are going to have an issue, like anything that has an over-intruding side or you know air pockets are going to get stuck. Trust me, they're going to get there. So these tend to be very easy to get the air pockets out, but that doesn't mean you ain't going to get any stuck in there still. This does cure nice and fast, but when you feel like you've got everything, and forget which one was this one. This is the love letter. Yep, see, there's that air pocket. There's this little spot at the top of this hat, this gnome's hat, has a heart on it. And the first time I did this, did not get his heart. It didn't look bad. I actually did sell it to somebody at a craft fair. She loved it. She thought it was adorable. And she wouldn't have known there was supposed to be a heart on the top of his hat. But I did give it to her at a reduced price, so it should be fine. And I'm going to fill this up. So any of the rest of this, I do have tiny little molds I had set aside, just enough for each one of these to hopefully get rid of any extras. And of course, if you spill, it's totally fine. This stuff dries and it becomes nothing but powder afterwards. So I have these little molds, again in baggies marked how much. He's probably not even going to fill, and that's fine. But I don't like wasting. I'm going to scrape this as much as possible because the powder does like to settle. If it sits too long, sorry that's not on camera, but so you want to scrape all that out. As you can see right down here, like the powder likes to settle all the way at the bottom. It's not all the way full. I may add just a little more powder and water mixture in. Eyeball it. And then I'm going to clean the cup up and I'll be back. Just going to pause the video. Alright, so I got this cleaned off. I think next, I already have these open because I wanted to look at them. They do feel like water in the bags, so that kind of threw me off. I wanted to make sure it was powder, and they are. They just feel watery. And these packages, both the resin crete and the pure in the Texpert. So next, we are going to do the Texpert, and this one does not, to my knowledge, come with a scoop. At least I don't see one in here. So I already kind of don't like that. So I'm just going to try this as is. So if it came with a scoop, I'm using a scoop. If it didn't come with a scoop, I'm not using a scoop. To see how messy and inaccurate, or not, I should say inaccurate, but how much of a pain this is going to be. But, so we're going to aim for 3 ounces. 3 ounces, perfect. And I'm going to seal this because I don't like the Ziploc baggies. At least not for this kind of stuff. They tend to make mess, and I don't like that. One of the reasons why I like the bucket. Now let's add an ounce of water. There we go. It's about an ounce of water, and we're going to use the next one. Alright, let's get that out of the way. Let's get this here, and let's mix. I also want to mix these pretty close to exactly the same, again, to see which one is more creamy, easy to work with, like too thick. I also kind of want to compare color. I'll do that when I take them out of the mold though, because it'll be a lot easier to have them side by side. So far they all look the same, they look white. They're all mixing fairly well. And this time I'm not going to pour it all in. I want to make sure there's no bubbles in the mold. It doesn't get too bubbly in the cup when you mix it. Ooh, I didn't mix that all the way. There was a chunk. This one's a little chunky. Do want to mix a little bit more for this one. This one was a little bit bigger. I should have thought on size when I was picking these, and I did not. So that was more than halfway full. You can, in theory, I'll try to shake the table, let this cure and pour some in after it's done curing. I don't recommend it. It leaves a line. You can so tell. I've done that on 2 molds. One didn't cure properly because I think I took it out too soon, and it didn't attach. The top didn't attach to the bottom, and it broke in half while taking it out of the mold. The second one came out just fine, but you could see a line literally all the way around from where I put the first half in the top half. So doing this in one shot is your best option. And I'm going to try and do this. See, 1/2 ounce of water would be 1.5 ounces of powder. If you hear my cat in the background, I do apologize. He is having a field day running around in circles on his cat tree. Don't know why. Try mixing this. And like I said, I'd rather have a little too much water, not a lot, a little too much water than not enough. If you put too much water in it, it tends to shrink, like some of the resins. They're UV resin. If you put too much not rubbing alcohol. If you put too much alcohol ink in it, it does tend to shrink. Alright, I'm gonna just tap this a little bit, flick it where I think it might, some bubbles in it. Should be good. I'm gonna fill that up when I put it on the table over here so I'm not spilling it like I did the last one. And there's almost not enough to pour out into a unicorn, so I am just going to clean up and I will be back for the next one. Alright, I am back, and these, by the way, are super easy to clean. All you need to do is add water, or wash it out with water. And we are going to do, let's see, we already did this one. Let's move it out of the way. Let's do the resin crete. This one also does not look like it comes with a scoop, at least to my knowledge. I do not see one. Hey, stop scratching the ceiling. I don't feel one in here, so I am just going to pour out the 3 ounces. Oh, okay, that was a little more than 3 ounces. Oops. Actually, I wonder if I can, where's... Ugh, it cleared itself out. Alright, let's try this again. Lots of water. So far, they've all been pretty much the same consistency, except for Texpert was a little chunky coming out. That's how it's supposed to be, or if that's going to be an issue. But I know I mixed this well enough where I'm scraping, so I am scraping the bottom and mixing it around, and this is pretty liquidy. So let's do this one. This one says it's 4 ounces. We'll see if we have enough. Alright, I'm going to move that aside and pour the rest of this in here. And that took almost all of it, and that sucker was roughly about 4 ounces in weight. So I'm going to rinse this out real quick, and I will be back. Alright, next we are going to do, I'm going to do the Set in Stone. This is a huge bag. I am hoping there's a scoop because I am not tipping this sucker sideways. Let's find out. Oh, it's in a sealed baggie inside of a baggie. Alright, but I still do not see a scoop. I don't feel one in here. This one is way denser than any of the others that I've used so far. I know it's 6 pounds, but geez. Oh, this one's got a little grayness to it. Interesting. This one so far is the most different out of all of them. I'm not picking this bad boy up. I am going to go find me a scoop. So this one also says 1 part water to 3 parts powder. So far, this one already is looking a little more on the gray side. This is a tiny scoop. Let's see if I can get that back in the bag. Oh, I'll do that later. All right, so I don't want my scale to shut off. So 1 ounce of water. Yeah, this one's definitely more of a creamier gray color than the others. I'll see how this looks dried out. It also has a different smell to it too. Interesting. All right, here we go. And not quite enough. Well, this one definitely has a much different texture to it too. Not bad. More granular, I guess you can say. It's a good thing I didn't put that sucker away. Let's get another 12 ounces. Set this aside and fill that up. Alright, I'll be right back and I will clean this up. Alright, so we are going to do the very last one. Now this one is This one's unique. This one actually tells you what it is by weight. It says 16 ounces of powder to 4.84 ounces of water. I'm definitely not going to do something that big. So we are going to do the 3 to 1 part like all the others have been. 3 parts powder to 1 part water. Let's open this up. And again, I don't think this has a scoop in it, and I'm already getting powder everywhere, which is why I don't like the Ziploc baggies. And this one also is very gray, creamy, not white, like the Set in Stone. So I'm going to use this scoop. You're going to do the 3 ounces to 1. Now I said I wasn't going to use the scoops, but I'm not picking up these bigger bags. I can already tell you the bags are a bit of a pain. And then not having a scoop is also a bit of a pain. But I suppose getting a scoop in every shipment would just be a waste. So I would advise you guys to buy at least one. Like the Texpert came in a kit. So I don't know if you can get the powder by itself without all the other extras. If you can, that would be perfect, because then you can get the scoop in the first kit and then just buy the powder and the pigments in, you know, whenever you need them. So that's the 3 ounces. And here's the 1 ounce of water. Yeah, see, this one's also very concrete colored, I guess you want to say, or a little more concrete colored than the first 3 we did. I think it was 3, yes. These last 2, surprisingly, it was done that way, have been a little bit more on the creamier gray side, but they've all been mixing fairly well, all been settling at the bottom like Let's Resin, so far they've all been pretty much the same. The only difference so far was the Texpert got a little chunky, and I don't know if that was my fault or the powder, but the other difference is the color. Definitely wouldn't mind throwing some pigment in these grayer ones to see what happens. Oh, that one was still a little chunky too. Let's squeeze out some of these bubbles as best we can. Mix this up. Just need a little bit more. Now the reason why I hate Ziploc baggies is if they don't lock right, they open back up and you have potential of spilling your powder everywhere. Finish pouring this over there. Alright, so I will be back when those have sat for about 30 minutes or so. Alright, so this one has set for about a half an hour. I'm not going to take it out of its mold, but because I want it to sit a little longer, so after a half hour this is pretty solid. I could essentially take it out if I wanted to. I can literally take this off. Now once this dries all the way, it's not going to dissolve. I mean, it might a little bit, and it could wear over time, but it is said on at least the Let's Resin instructions, if you paint these, you should seal them. And I did mention that earlier, so I do want to do a video on how well those work. So hopefully in another video, once I get those items that I'm missing, I can do a nice sealer demo on these. But this one is, you know, solid all the way around. Again, it's roughly been about a half hour. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to let the rest of the time set for the other ones. And then I'm going to take them over one at a time and show you. And then in about an hour, I'm going to just demold all of them. I'll be right back. It's been approximately about a half an hour for this one. Again, same thing as the Let's Resin. Clean off a little bit of the edges, or you can wait until you demold it. Totally fine, but nice and hard. And I was reading the instructions on some of the other ones. The very last one we did, which was the Perfect Cast, says it should sit for about 45 minutes. All the rest of them say about 20 to 30 minutes. And of course, the Perfect Cast so far has been the cheapest one that I've bought, but again, I got to do the math and figure out which one truly is the cheapest one. So I will be back when the others are ready to view. Alright, this one has been sitting for about a half hour. Again, nice and hard, nice and smooth. This one I didn't overfill, but it did tend to lean off to the side. And these tend to level themselves out. So if they're leaning anyway, you're going to notice because you're going to get a little divot on one side and an overflow on the other. This didn't flow out of the mold, but it did divot down a little bit. But that is easy to fix because you can sand these. So far, these are looking pretty good. Nice and hard after about 30 minutes. And then let's see what the next one looks like. It's been approximately about half an hour for this one. That little hair. And this one actually still feels a little wet to the touch, but it is hard. So you can definitely demold it. I definitely would wait the 2 hours to take this out of the mold because I have a feeling the more fragile areas might break. So I am going to put this aside and let this finish drying. You can already wipe some of that moisture right off. This one also didn't mix too well. It got some granules on the top, but it's hard, it's solid. I can push on it. It should be fine. The last one has been sitting for about 40 minutes. No, it was about 30 minutes. So 30 minutes this has been setting. And I can tell you it feels hard, but you can clearly see that it's still very wet and it's just very wet on the top. It feels pretty good on the rest of this. I am definitely not touching this bad boy. So out of all of these, this one is definitely the slowest curing. I also have the math done. So if I did this math correctly, for about 1,000 grams, the Let's resin is about $11.99 for 1,000 grams. If you buy their bucket at 3,000 grams for $35.99, so that's approximately about $11.99 for 1,000 grams. And then the Texpert, you get the 1 kilo, which is about 1,000 grams at $14.99, and that's basically their bag comes in 1,000 grams. The resin Crete at 1,000 grams is $19.99. The Set in Stone from Unicone is approximately $10.99 for 1,000 grams. This comes in the same size as the Let's resin. Theirs is $32.99. So in comparison to the Let's resin, it's already like $3 cheaper. And then the Perfect Cast. Now, if I did the math right, because it's the only one that doesn't tell you how many grams or whatever, it just says 4 pounds, and the other ones just come in basically 3 pounds. Or 6 pounds. So this is roughly in between weight-wise the Let's resin and the Set in Stone, and then the other two, the Texpert and the Resin Crete. So size-wise, it's in between the two. And this comes in $9.36 for 1,000 grams. So this right here is already your cheapest option, but it's also your longest setting. So we are going to see how these look when we finally take them out of the mold. And I am going to pause the video and let them finish setting for about 2 hours. And I will demold all 5 of these, including the little couple of extras that I have, because I have about 3 extras from the leftovers. I'll demold those. You guys can see how cute those are. They're just little tiny unicorns. All right, so I will be back with that. All right, these have been sitting for just under 2 hours. And we are going to take these out and 3 little extras. Let's see how these look. Now, the first one we did was this one. And this one was from Let's Resin. How'd that get stuck in there? Remember correctly. And this also has that little heart at the tip. So you're going to be very careful. Probably should wait 24 hours, but that's totally fine. Now, I'm just going to double check and make sure this is the one I'm thinking. All right, let's see. All right, so yes, this one was the Let's resin. So I've done several of these with the Let's resin. I actually have a lot of molds that came out of just this one batch. So far, I'm really liking the Let's resin. It's pretty good for the cost. I love the white base, whereas these two aren't quite as white, and this one is a little weird. So I'm really liking the Let's resin. The Let's resin's really good. Oh, how'd that happen? You will sometimes get these weird little markings, and when I figure out why that happens, I will let you guys know how to prevent that. But you can either leave it or sand it down. These are sandable. You do need to wait 24 hours before you paint or seal them. So if you're not painting them, you still need to wait to seal them. What was the next one we did? We did Welcome Sunflower. Let's see if I can figure out which one that one is. Nope, that is you. Yes. this out. Come on. Ooh, try not to break it. Pretty good. Not bad. This one was from, let's see, Techspert. Now, you can get some really good details in these. Let's see if I can get it to focus. And then, of course, the sign that says welcome. You can get a lot of really good detail. I got a little bubble right here. Oh, well. And it looks like just someone took a bite out of the leaf. That's actually kind of cute. That's what I was talking about. Tricky areas that like to get bubbles. Other than that, this came out really good. It has a nice white base. Let's compare it to the Let's Resin. To be honest, you can't tell the difference. Feels, well, this one's bigger, but it feels, texture-wise, feels the same, looks the same. You can see all the nice little details. So the Techspert came out really good in comparison to the Let's Resin. Now, they were a little bit more money. Actually, I think they were the second expensive one, most expensive, but they also had a lot of extras. So the Techspert came with their own dies. Yes, because it was the Pure Cure and it came with all these little goodies. So for the more money, if you need the goodies like the sandpaper, the pigments, the measuring cups, and all that lovely stuff, that's not bad for the money. If you don't need it, well, then I feel like it's a waste of money. And I would probably stick with the Let's Resin. Now, let's see, the Easter egg. I'm pretty sure that's the Easter egg because that's the last white one and the other two were cream colored or whatever color that is. And I can already see some bubbles formed underneath some of this. There we go. Oh yeah, I forgot about her hood. Yeah, there's a little air bubble in here. That's happened once before. Gotta be careful with that. This one has a couple of air pockets here. Other than that, not bad. Looks and feels the same as the other two. Nice details. Feels just as smooth. So these three are very similar. And this one was the Resin-Crete. This one is actually the most expensive. And does not come with extras, but you can buy kits where it does come with extras, but it's a little more money, obviously, if you do it that way. So the Resin-Crete's really nice, but it is your most expensive out of the three so far. Now on to the not so white ones. This one was from Unicorn Set in Stone. Oh, I see bubbles. This is very gray. This looks more like if you were to make concrete slabs. There we go. So, oh, okay. Got some bubbles in the wording, some in the hands. Looks like I'm gonna have to make sure I get some of those air pockets out. This isn't as smooth. Okay, it's smooth, but it has a little more of a texture to it. It's a little weird that it's gray. This is the other welcome one, and you can clearly see the difference in color. Like this is definitely more gray than this. So when you're painting, I'm actually curious to see how this is going to look with pigment in it. But if you're going to paint over it, I would probably put a white primer on this before I even paint on it. You can probably try just leaving it the way it is, but I like leaving the beards white. I mean, I could probably leave this beard the same color. It'd be gray. That'd be interesting. I can't wait to try and paint this one. Let's see how this one's going to be. So I'm definitely going to set these aside. In another video, I'll probably paint them and see how the paint holds up on them and then seal them. This is definitely much different in comparison. So I guess it's up to your preference whether you like the gray base or the white base. Kind of depends on what you are going to paint on it. Now this one is a little weird. You can already see how gritty it is. This is the cheapest one out of all of them. Also takes the longest to cure, and I'm already getting chunks. It also claims that it is 5 times stronger than plaster of Paris, and Ooh, that's not looking good. Not looking good at all. I got bunny ears on this thing. There we go. Oh, okay. It's just a little weird. It got a bunch of bubbles just in the bottom half, which is strange. None of the other ones did that. So, yeah, I'm not too sure if I can fix... The smoother parts I can fix, but the beard looks weird. The flower got too many air pockets in it. I'm gonna have to keep that. The other time I casted this, it didn't look this bad, so I'm not sure if it's the resin or didn't do a good job at getting the air pockets out. But this one came out very bubbly. You can see a little bit bubbles under his nose and underneath some of these areas. So this one definitely had a lot more gas to release, and I am not liking it. So you get what you paid for. This one is so this one's the cheapest. This one's the second cheapest. And if you don't mind the gray base, this one didn't come out too bad. Like I said, the little few bubbles, which you probably take care of, before you let it set. It set out smooth. In comparison to this one is not smooth at all. Like the bottom is fine, the top is fine, but the bottom is all bumpy. It definitely did not let all the bubbles out before it sat. So there's that. Let's take out some of the extras and see how those came out, because I had an extra in the set in stone, which is this one right here. I didn't quite fill it all the way. This one's cute. Okay. A little bubble under his bum. A little bubble in the ears, but not too bad. One in the eye. But not too bad. Not too bad. Again, I'm a little put off by the gray color. I wasn't expecting that. This is the perfect cast. Oh yeah, bubbles galore. Oh, wow. Okay, let's get this out. Ugh. All right. Well, definitely not too fond of this one. Probably gonna wind up giving it to my niece. It's very soft. Debating on whether to wait 24 hours and review this, because this is very soft. Let's see if this hardens up. While it's soft, it'd be really good to sand it, smooth it out. But I'm definitely liking the Unicone one better than the Perfect Cast. If you're short on money, and I don't know why this looks so weird around the neck. But anyways, if you're short on money and you don't mind cleaning up some of the bubbles, you could use it. I would definitely wait 24 hours before taking it out of the mold and really messing with it. This one, it's only a few cents more. I would honestly just stick with the name brand and use the Unicone Set in Stone. Again, if you're short on money and you don't mind the gray base, this is the way to go. These came out much better than the Perfect Cast. This already feels pretty solid. This one, I feel like I could crumble this with my hands. It's very, ooh, whoopsie, I already broke a piece. Where'd it go? There it is. Yep, broke a flower. So I'm not too happy with that. Thankfully, it was cheap, and I didn't waste too much money on that one. So I'm going to figure out what I'm going to have to use that one for. But let's do this last one. This one was the Let's Resin. Let's see if I can get this out. Yeah, much better. You can still feel how wet it is on the bottom. It really does like push the water out, especially through the bottom where everything was rising. So this is I definitely like the white bases better. So the Let's Resin was the third cheapest. Now, if you want to spend a couple of extra bucks per gram, technically in the long run, this is the third cheapest. In the short run, it's $35.99, but you get like, what is it, 3,000 grams. And I've casted a lot of stuff with just that one bucket. So it may be $35 in one shot, but it is definitely worth the money. I like the Let's Resin the most out of all of these. and it is the, you know, the not the most expensive one. So the Let's resin is definitely more quality for a reasonable price. The Texpert is more expensive, but still better, you know, than this one. This one is very expensive. So to be honest, these two are kind of more of a toss-up than these two who are being a toss-up. This is just really expensive. It's a really good quality. If you want to spend the money on something, by all means, knock yourself out. But I definitely would stick with these first three over these two. In any case, that is all for today. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and click the bell. That way you'll know when I post new videos. And of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys agree, disagree. If you want to see each one of these painted with the same paint, definitely, I can definitely do a video on that, including this one here. I'm gonna let it sit. Maybe it'll get harder, who knows? But it's definitely not gonna get smoother unless I smooth it, which I'm not even gonna bother with. I may be able to fix it with paint. We'll see. So if you want to see that, comment below. I will definitely do that. And then I'll see you guys in the next video. Blessed be. Bye.